And then he called Thomas and said to him, come, put your finger into the nail marks. Put your hand into the mark of my side. And Thomas said to him, Lord, my God and my Lord. I hope that at the time of the elevation, when I rise the host and raise the chalice, you say those beautiful words, huh? My Lord and my God. But Jesus said to Thomas, you come to believe what you have seen. How blessed are those who do not see, but still believe. Now, today, I'd like to focus my little words on the first reading today. But that first reading is why our pews are empty and our church is about to close. The first sentence. They were together, united in the teaching of the apostles. They lived a communal life. They break bread together in their homes. And they were in prayer. Now let us take the first one. Do we really believe in the teaching of the church, which is the deposit of the apostles' teaching? Or we criticize the church? Or we ask the church to change some of her doctrine and her ways? Do we believe when our Holy Father speaks to us and try to bring down to our level the teaching of the church, that sometimes we don't like to hear it? What is our reaction to that? Are we really believe in one church, or we make our own church in our belief? How many times I hear people say to me, Father, I don't believe in the sacrament of penance. And then you are wasting your time to be a Catholic. Because that's why Jesus came from heaven to die for sin. And if you don't have no sin, then you don't need a Redeemer, you don't need Jesus in your life. You need Jesus if you have been sinned, if you have sinned. Why bother comes to him if you don't need him? Do you go to the doctor when you don't need the doctor? No. You go to him because he has to reassure the prescription every 3 months, and you go to him when something is wrong because you want to be healed. Are we living in a community? Can you consider the family of St. Rita as your family? The scripture said to us that they have everything in common. They used to sell even their houses, and bring them and put the money at the feet of the apostles to be equally divided among them, so no one go for one. This last four months, I cannot notice how many people write about, the house of the bishop he is buying in Woodbridge. And they say his money, why he does not give it to the poor? Why he does not do this? And why he is closing school and churches, but he has no money, he has money to pay his house. I'm going to ask you a question, and please stand up if you are willing to do so. Will you like to sell your house and give it to the poor? How many of you would like to volunteer today? Because I will take you very seriously. I have a contract with the sacristy, and you sell your house to me, and we give it to the poor. Believe me, I will. How many of you will? The bishop has no house to live. He's living like in a motel. And this house is supposed to be bought by his previous bishop, but because he was ill and he was about to retire, he never did it. The money is there because they sold his house full of mold, and the insurance gave him the money, and so on and so forth. Does he deserve to have a house with 2 priests living with him? And they quote Pope Francis. Pope Francis is right. You don't have to have luxury. You need to be with the people. But I don't see the Pope living in the slums of Rome. He's in the Vatican. And we speak about community, do we mean it? Or not? We just finish the appeal for the house of charity. There are people in this parish who do not even think more and more pray over it. You claim about feeding the poor, that's as we say, escapism. Why you don't have somebody through the house of charity to feed the poor? People who need counseling, people who have no food on the table, people who have no roofs on their heads, people who need to study because they are going to serve you as a priest in 30, 40 years on the road. People who are retired now, they serve the parish so very well and we need to take care of them. Young people who today they are running for a race for vocations and youth that they meet in different colleges and so forth. But we are very concerned about quoting what is according to us, what we need to quote. But when it comes to me, it's a different story. They also have the Eucharist celebrated in their homes, not in the temple. So we already made the distinctions of the Eucharist. Not everyone can receive the Eucharist, but those who are redeemed, those who are saved, those who believe in Jesus, those who are with one baptism, believe in one church. That's why they celebrate the Eucharist in their homes, not in the temple. They were in prayer. Now let us take those four and apply them for individual families. And we see why we have empty pews. Number one, do our family believe that we should go to church? Or we have people who tell us, I don't need to go to church to pray because I read the Bible. Is that not true? Because I don't know. Do we really believe that we go to church when it comes to marriage? When it comes to abortion? When it comes to different issues that we have? Sometimes we say the Pope that is the old man in Rome, he does not need to interfere with my business. What business the Pope has? To save souls. That's why he has bishops to help him and priests. That's our business, to save souls. Do our family live in communion? Sometimes our children, they come to the house, it's like an apartment. They don't eat dinners with you, or neither you or your husband. They come in and they go whenever they please. There is no communion. How can they understand what takes place at this altar if we don't begin with the domestic church? Where there we share food, that both parents have worked so hard together, sometimes even cook it together, and there they share the stories of love and memories of their loved ones, which we do in the reading of the scriptures. Do our families go to church? No. And that's the only shalom that Jesus will give us. Remember the disciples of Emmaus, do you know what they received? They experienced Jesus in the breaking of the bread. That is the shalom. Jesus came to the disciples and said to them, peace I give you. You have anything to eat? And he broke bread with them. The shalom, the peace, come from here, from this altar. If you want to know the pulse of the parish, see how much the parish is united in the Eucharist. That's why it is not by combination that these two popes were canonized today, because they are the popes of the council. And if you read the documents of the council, especially the Eucharistia, you see what these popes really intended for the church. That the center will be Christocentro, that Christ will be the center. That's why they promote processions for Corpus Christi and 40 hours devotion. That's why they want the continuation of the Latin to be sang. That's why they want the adoration of the Eucharist to come after the Mass, because it is a continuation of the Mass. That's why we need chapels where people can come and pray in front of the Eucharist. That's why the parish has to be the center, only center, not like which we have murders and worship sites and all. This is one center where the parish comes together and they pray there. Because the Eucharist is that unite them. Black, white, Japanese, American, Maltese, Italian, all of us come together to pray one loaf and drink from one chalice. You want peace in the homes? You want to stop divorce and abortion? This is the center. Why? Because he said to us, without me you can do nothing. And the real presence of the altar is what sustains the church, the food that he gave us for the journey. Do our families pray together? Do they say the rosary every day? Do they say prayers before they go to bed? Do they bless the food? Sometimes you are in a restaurant and you are with Catholics, or even a sign of the cross they will do. They are ashamed of themselves. What's wrong with you? You are the light of the world. You are the one who sends a message. If somebody makes you the sign of the cross, you are identify yourself as Christian. You are blessing the food that God has provided. And God has provided money for you to buy it and to eat it. You don't give him thanks. What is public? Everyone is doing it. What? Whatever is done behind closed doors is going to be proclaimed from the roofs, Jesus said. To be a Catholic is not something to be a private issue. That is what who you are. The identity of who you are. So you see, dear people, those are the four foundations, but which make community. When one of them is down, there is no community. When we don't adhere to the one teaching of the church. Not some teaching I don't care for, so I want to eliminate them. No, the whole truth. Do I live in communion? Do I care for other people? Because the love of God is not something that we do this in the air, it's a complete one. Jesus united divinity and humanity, and that's why he healed the sick, he fed the hungry. And he told us to do so because the human nature is very important for the life of grace, because grace is based on nature. How can I talk to you about God if you are hungry? Feed you first. Provide for him first. This is the great mission, the great aid of the missionaries when they go to different countries. They establish their identity by being with them and provide for them, so that they establish themselves and civilize themselves, and then they begin the faith. Then they begin to build a school, a little hospital, a little church, and then they grow to the Christian community. These are the factors by which we identify ourselves as family, as Christians. And the council speaks very well about the domestic church, because we don't understand nothing what takes place here if we don't understand the family. How many times you see a family of 3 or 4 children, they get together, they love each other, they are always at their mother's and father's house, they take care of their fathers and mothers, their needs, their wants, everything they need to be done well, and you say, oh, what a beautiful family they are. But unfortunately today, we are living in a society that everything is about me. And so my mother is old, she can go to a nursing home. My brother, he can fend for himself even if he has trouble with his illness and so forth. We lost the sense of family. And family is what we are. We are a bunch of people who are composed from domestic families. We come together as a big family because we come from family. And so we understand what family is all about. Family is people who care for each other. Family are people who are raised in the same house, under the same roof, around the same table, and we experience and grow from what we see from our parents. We are what we receive from our parents. And we are going to give what we receive. We cannot give nothing that we don't have. How can I give you if I don't have it? And that's why St. Peter today he said, although you never saw him, you still believe in him. And this is the lesson that Jesus wants to teach Thomas and each one of us. You come to believe because you see, but blessed are those who do not see but believe. And that is faith. Can we say the faith of the church today is so vivid? Can we say that we have strong faith that in time of trouble and kind of hardship, we are going to stand solid on our feet. But unfortunately, our faith is a little bit, as we say, bankrupt. Because our light is not shining, it's dim. Because our witness for the Lord is not. And I'd like to conclude today with two important messages that these two saints today give us. Let's begin with Giuseppe Rancaldo. Giuseppe Rancaldo was John the 23rd. He was raised in a beautiful family. I think he was the seventh of 13 children. He entered the seminary, he became a priest later on. After he was rector of the seminary, he consecrated and bishop. And he once went on the nunciatura, which he became a nuncio to Turkey. And this comes on, and later on he becomes the patriarch of Venice. And we know that from there he was chosen at the age of 80 to be the Holy Father. He lived 4.5 years in this country. He was known as the smiling fool. Everyone loved him because he was like a little teddy bear. But there is one sentence he said that really is the trademark of his papacy. He said to me and to you, can you leave a trace of your existence after you are gone? Have you made a mark by your life in the hearts of others when you are gone? A very, very deep statement. Then I turned to John Paul. They are the popes that I lived with them. I was born in the era of John the 23rd because he was elected in the year 1958. Then of course I spent 27 years more under John Paul. And John Paul, if you read the biography written by Emeritus Pope Benedict, he said, I worked with him for 24 years and I knew then he was a saint. He said the intensity that he has for the church was coming from a very deep, deep relationship with Jesus. And when he is in prayer, he is in another world. Nothing else bothers him. He will be sitting or kneeling on that kneeler with an envelope that was in the person there of people who send their petitions to the Holy Father to pray for them. And he will go to all the names and pray for them at 5 o'clock in the morning. He used to say to that before he make an audience or before he meets somebody, he goes down in prayer. How many times he went to the chapel to be by himself to meet somebody, head of state or something. And even when he goes from one person to the other, he always are in prayer. And you will remember what you said to him 50 years ago. But then God gave him the intuition that when he is in the presence of somebody, he can read the soul. And he will say to the person, I know you are troubled because of your illness of your daughter. She will be all right. A cardinal who have not seen him for a long time, finally they told the Holy Father he was in hospital. And the Holy Father went to see him. And he has cancer in his neck and in his lungs. The Holy Father touched his lungs, touched his neck, and he said, "Good, right?" He was so concerned about every individual. You will be in an audience of thousands of people. If he marks you with his eyes, there will be no one else that matters. You are the one. I experienced myself. I was in the crowd. I have a Dominican priest on my side. I have an Indian priest on my side. And he came straight, like an arrow, boom, from the throne. He asked what my name is. Where do you work? And I prayed to him. And he was talking. priests were so angry because they didn't even say hello to them. But that's John Paul. John Paul was a man who really identified himself so much with Jesus. And Benedict tells us that he used to tell him, I pray that I see everyone that I meet with the eyes of Christ, and I feel for them as God feels for them. Is that a beautiful thing? I love what he said, and repeat again. I want to see whom I meet with the eyes of Christ, and feel for them as Christ feels. My dear people, these are the saints that today we honor them as new saints in Rome. And what they have in common? They are the Pope of the Council. One started and one put it into practice. Not only that, but he enhanced the Council by giving us the Catechism and also the renovation of the code, the canon law of the Church. And why Francis is so inspired by that? Because he too, he walks in the shoes of John Paul and in the shoes of John the 23rd. And if people say, oh, he is the greatest Pope, the media love this Pope because he is this, he is going to change the faith. Take it from me and nobody. He cannot change one iota of the faith. You get that? He walks in the shoes of Peter. He is Christ among us, and Christ cannot contradict himself. So those people who are waiting for Francis to change this and to change this and to change doctrine, I'm talking doctrine. He cannot. My dear people, when I read these readings and apply them to myself and also to seeing how the church lives today, I pray to these two popes that they will enkindle in the hearts of our Christian Catholics what they love very much, the family. They come from both good families. John Paul lost his mother when he was very young, and he gave himself to Mary. That's why he said, Totus tuus, I am all yours. He lost his father when he was a teen. He lost his brother before his father, killed by the Germans. He was left alone. But he had love for family. The same thing is with John. And I hope that this year of the family with John Paul put it too much, and even he wrote a letter about it, Camilla Concorsus, will really renew our Christian Catholics next year in Philadelphia. I hope he comes. Because that's what we need. We need a renewal. We need a lift up. We need an encouragement. We need to understand the dignity of who we are. And we need to base our faith on the early community of our Christians. That true prayer, that true communion, that we care for others, that through the breaking of the bread and attendance to the teaching of the apostles, we can have